Hi dear friends, good morning. Welcome back to my channel. It's Akshadare by Devraj. I hope you guys are doing great and landing great. So today is 14th of June 2023. So I would, if you're going to start the newspaper reading, so I would request you guys to please subscribe the channel, like and comment, so that I can bring very informative videos related to health, education and jobs. So, and I hope you guys are working towards to improve your communication in English. So, in the upcoming days, I am bringing the job information in Hindi, English, and Telugu, Kannada languages. So, I hope it would be very useful for you guys to utilize the opportunity and apply for the government jobs. So, let's start today newspaper reading. Yes, guys, let's see what's in the front page of today newspaper. And this is today is the World Blood Donors Day 2023. So, and I wish you everyone a World Blood Donors Day 2023. So, Twitter faced threats, says ex-CEO. Center calls it a lie. Jack Dorsey says government threatened to shut down the social media platform Melissa as it acted on its orders during the farmers' protest. Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar says there was no shutdown. No probe, no FIR into COVID breach. Frictions in the India Canada bilateral ties. Court attaches 82 properties of Reddy. Why? Cyclone Bipochai, 21,000 people shifted to safety in Gujarat. ED holds such at TN Minister's Chamber home. Court hardens central process for Panchayat polls in Bengal. Congress government keen on splitting BBMP. However, given the legal tangle that the civic polls process is already in Bescom transform stolen from Bangalore industrial area. So woman kills mother, walks into police station with body. Probe reveals that the victim frequently quarreled with her daughter, who told the police that she killed her mother as she was asking for it. It was around 1 p.m. on Monday. The police personnel at Micro Layout police station were getting ready to have lunch when a woman entered struggling to carry a trolley bag. The police personnel was stunned as she told them that she had killed her mother a few hours ago and brought her body in the suitcase. The police opened the bag to find the body of an old lady with a dupatta around her neck. She stuffed in the bag along with the potato of her long dead husband. The accused has been identified as Sonali Sen, a physiotherapist who quit her job a few days ago. The victim, Abiva Paul, 71, was living with Sonali, her only daughter, at Innesor Green apartment in Kodi Chicken Alley since 5 years. Biwal Paul had relocated to her daughter's house after the death of her husband. Sonali was living with her husband, an engineer working in Jigani industrial area, and the couple had a son. The Sonali's mother-in-law was also living with them, the police said. Probe revealed that Biwa frequently quarreled with her daughter, and on Sunday a fight ensued. Biwa, who was depressed, said that there will not be peace till she was alive, and asked her daughter to kill her. On Monday around 7:15 a.m., after Sonali's husband left to work, she force fed her mother on 30 blood pressure tablets by 11:30 am. Biwa had a paralytic stroke and started writhing in pain, following which Sonali strangled her mother using a dupatta and bundled the dead body into a trolley bag. She took an auto rickshaw to reach the police station. Police Sub Inspector Sanjeev Gurappa, who was on duty when Sonali walked in with the body, registered a case of murder and arrested her son, sent the body up for post-mortem. Sonali told the police that she had killed her mother as she was asking for it. Called husband. She also called her husband before leaving home, informing him that she is going out and her mother-in-law was alone. By the time he returned to his apartment, Sonali was in police custody. It's too bad. Private company gets axe bomb threat. Group A accreditation for university. Severe flooding, tropic snares as heavy rain slashes parts of city. After girls pass of bus and dies, KSRTC issues circular. Free bus scheme for women saw 41.34 lakh passengers on Monday. Illegal mining case. Court attaches 82 properties of Janardhan Reddy and wife. The special court has set to deal with criminal cases related to former and present MPs, MLAs in Karnataka, passed the order while partly allowing the application filed by CBI in 2015. CM sets a 3 month deadline to install MRI and dialysis units in Taluk district hospitals. Task force will be set up to protect work properties. Cabinet will discuss demand for cancellation of NPS. MB Patil proposes vision groups to develop 7 key industry verticals. Congress High Command likely to give pep talk to ministers in Delhi. CAT stays transfer of IPS officer. Delay in a monsoon storage in Kaveri Basin dams in at 30% of installed capacity. Former CGI launches up to provide legal aid. Tamil Nadu CM condemns search by ED at Secretariat. The BJP leadership should realize that they can't succeed through all backdoor intermediary tactics, says Stalin, questioning the need for such a search. Sashikala moves High Court against trial court decision. Degree students from Bangalore drowns in a sea at Mureshwar. Two port officials arrested over Tanur boat's tragedy. Man gets life imprisonment for killing woman in AP. The local court on Monday awarded life imprisonment to a man for killing a woman in January 2022 under the Undi police limits in the West Godavari district of Andhra Pradesh. T. Aditya Adi Narayana killed K. Monica after she demanded that should marry her. That he should marry her. That you had been live in relationship after she left her husband. The police said Monica had pressurized Adi Narayan to marry her as she was impregnated by him. Adi Narayana invited her to an ice factory and later hacked her to death. To die after consuming liquor. Tax law in the shadow of the higher judiciary. This is the editorial page. Let me read this editorial page. India's law of taxation is built on two central precepts. First, on the idea captured in the Article 265 of the Constitution that a tax may be imposed only with the authority of law. Second, on a principle of sourness that any levy how to be clear, consistent, and predictable. Both these precepts emanate out of a larger commitment to the rule of law, in particular to our values of legality and certainty. The vast reversal of judgment. Upholding these principles requires a commitment not only from the legislature but also from our courts too. But over the course of the last 12 months, there have been instances where the Supreme Court of India has undermined this commitment by reversing well-reasoned judgments of high courts and by virtually enacting into existence taxes that lack legislative support. Two judgments delivered by Justice M.R. Shah, who retired from the Supreme Court on May 15th, represent noteworthy examples. In the more recent of the rulings in ITO versus Vikram Sujit Kumar Bhatia, the question before the court concerned whether an amendment to a provision of the Income Tax Act 1961 could have a retrospective effect in the absence of legislative mandate. The provision at stake. Section 153 of the Act, which stipulates the conditions under which a search made on a person's premises could result in the opening of proceedings against other persons and entities. Before an amendment to the law in 2015, Section 115-153 allowed the revenue to proceed against third parties to a search if material seized, such as money, bullion, jewelry, or books of accounts belong to a person other than the one who was subject to the search. At least three different high courts held that the terms belongs or belong to ought to be narrowly construed in their reading for incriminating material found during a search to serve as a basis for assessing persons alien to the search. That materials must not merely relate to or to pertain to such person but must belong to them. Therefore, a mere reference to a person's name would not be by itself satisfy the law. There must be evidence that the material in question is the person's property. To overcome these decisions, the law was amended in 2015. Section 153C now stipulated that assessments could be made against third parties to a such, even if the material seized in the case of documents and books of documents are pertain to the person or the information contained in those items relates to the person. The question turned to this: would the law apply to searches conducted prior to its enactment? The amendment was not made expressly retrospective. In any event, as the Gujarat High Court held, it could not be so because such an application would impinge on rights that had vested on persons through the previous stipulation. This reasoning stems out of the idea that even if a law was merely procedural in nature, it would apply retrospectively only if it didn't take away any substantive rights conferred on a person. Here, the court found that the amendment was bringing into the fold of Section 153C a new class of assessees who were previously excluded. On April 6, the Supreme Court reversed this verdict. Its reasons for doing so, insofar as they can be gleaned from the judgment, are twofold. One, that the whole Section 153C had been replaced by amendment and the words belongs or belong to had been substituted by pertains or pertain to, and therefore one must presume that the unamended provision never existed in law, not even before the date of amendment. Two, that the new law is declaratory in that it seeks to explain an earlier provision and is hence retrospective. Court as maker, not interpreter. However, these proposed reasons do not add up. Section 153 may have been amended through substitution, but the praise belongs to continues to remain in the provision. What the altered law does it to add an additional stipulation that even material in the case of books of accounts and documents that pertains or pertain to a person can serve as a ground for press proceedings. Therefore, the amendment by no means suggests what was always the position, but instead seeks to expand the law's domain with an eye to the future. The code, in holding that it will apply to past searches, has acted not as an interpreter of the law but as a maker of the law. The judgment in Union of India versus Ashish Agarwal, delivered in May last year, is not dissimilar. Its many ramifications continue to be felt. In it, the court resuscitated notices of reassessment that had been issued by the revenue without any sanction of law. In doing so, it not only reversed the Allahabad High Court's judgment that had been carried hard to it on appeal, but also verdicts are rendered by at least seven different high courts that were not before it. Parties to those cases, numbering in the hundreds and thousands, didn't so much as get their audience in court. The issue at stake in the case was simple. With effect from April 1st, 2021, Parliament had enacted a new regime to govern reassessments of completed income tax proceedings. But despite the change in law, the revenue continued to issue notices under a repealed provision deriving authority it believed from executive notifications that extended timelines during the COVID-19 inflicted period. The High Courts declared these notices invalid, but also find it out that the Income Tax Department, if it is so desired, was at liberty to invoke the new law if the statute of limitations so permitted. There is no doubt that the quashing of these notices would have had some effect on the revenue. There would have been cases where limitation had expired, leaving the authorities with no choice but to drop any proposal for reassessment. But if this situation called for mending, it was for the legislature to think of solutions. Instead, the court found, although this was not the government's pleaded case, that the causes of the revenue may have been under a bona fide belief that the amendments may not have been imposed. In other words, that state functionaries were ignorant of the law. In the court's beliefs, mistakes of this kind must not be allowed to cause the exchequer. Therefore, the quashed notices were revived and were deemed to have been issued under the amended law. More than an encroachment. Through this, the court was not only encroaching on legislative functions but was also striving to give life to what were otherwise entirely legitimate actions. What followed the judgment was an especially bewildering situation because the notices under the old law were evidently issued keeping in mind the preconditions that law stipulated. As a result, this has only led to a fresh round of litigation. What is more, in doing this the court also invoked its most infamous power, Article 142 of the Constitution, which allows it to pass orders for doing complete justice to a cause. It has it has previously been held that this power ought not to be applied in breach of statutory law. Yet here was a case where the court not only resuscitated actions that lacked any legislative support, but also reversed judgments that were simply not on reappeal before it. Article 265 of the Constitution forbids taxation without legislation. But if the Supreme Court is willing to play Parliament, this peremptory promise will remain illusory. Musings on the frictions in India Canada ties. Let's read this article. During a pro coalition parade on June 4 in Brampton, Canada, there was a tableau that depicted a lady clad in a white sari who was bloodied with two soldiers training their guns on her. The board behind read Revenge of Attack on Sri Darbar Sahib. The side of the plot carried the words Never Forget 1984. Clear the tableau figures depicted were that of India's former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi and her assassins. The Indian response in a media conference on June 8th to commemorate 9 years of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's administration, the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar was asked about the Brampton tableau. He chose not to refer directly to the offensive plot, though he indirectly indicated that it was egregious. Instead, he focused, as he put it, on the bigger issue the space Canada gives to separatists, to extremists, to people who advocate violence. He added, and I think it is not good for the relationship, and I think it's not good for Canada. Mr. Jaishankar did well to speak out openly and forcefully on Canada hypocritical
approaches us on human rights issues, and its indicates long disdain for the territorial integrity of India. This stated, it is remarkable that Mr. Jaishankar could not get himself around to take the name of Indira Gandhi. The glorification of revenge by anyone of the for the assassination of an Indian Prime Minister is an issue behind party politics or personal pick for it concerns the dignity of the nation. This is so even if a Prime Minister took actions like Indira Gandhi did in June 1982 that were controversial, and the Congress Party's role in the anti-Sikh 1984 riots was condemnable. Ironically, while Mr. Jaishankar didn't name Indira Gandhi, the Canadian High Commissioner to India, Cameron Market did. He tweeted, "I am appealed by reports of an event in Canada that celebrated the association of late Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Indeed, the country's position would be better and more credible articulated if the able, popular, and powerful politician that Mr. Jaishankar has become does not completely obscure his former avatar of a distinguished diplomat, diaspora, and foreign policy. The ethnic Indian community. The ethnic Indian community in Prime Minister Justin Trudeau cabinet at the press conference, Mr. Jaishankar mentioned Canada's intelligence of Khalistani elements. He didn't use the word, but that is clearly what he had in mind, and aptly attributed it to vote bank politics. It is the ethnic Indian, and in this case, not restricted to a Khalistani vote bank, that had led Mr. Trudeau to comment on the former station, which was a purely domestic Indian issue. India naturally found Mr. Trudeau remarks unacceptable. Mr. Jaishankar comments on Canadian attitudes to ethnic Indians provide an occasion to consider the Indian political class approaches towards the diaspora, which has gained political, financial, and professional success in many countries. It has become a pillar of foreign policy, especially of the present dispensation, which has also used Prime Minister Narendra Modi popularity with a vast section of the diaspora to impress domestic public opinion. Also, whenever the diaspora is politically important, local politicians wanted to use Mr. Modi's popularity for their political purposes. The latest illustration of this phenomena was Mr. Modi diaspora rally during his recent visit to Australia, which was attended by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. Following the Mr. Modi's example, other Indian political players will also now play diaspora politics. The Congress Rahul Gandhi's recent visit to the United States is a case in point. Thus, the tradition that Indian domestic politics will not be taken behind the shores of India no longer holds. Another significant issue which Mr. Jaishankar addressed during the media briefing related to the remarks of Jodie Thomas, Canada's National Security and Intelligence Advisor, speaking at a conference organized by the Canada Global Affairs Institute on June 2nd. Mr. Thomas said, "When I talk about foreign interference and economic security, I am not talking of a number of state actors and non state proxies. This includes Russia, Iran, India." That said, the actor that comes up most on these issues, and it is no surprise to anybody, is China. In response, Mr. Jaishankar used the Hindi language phrase Ulta chor kotwal ko datin. The thief scolds the police. He rightly dismissed Mr. Thompson's comment outright. India cannot be accused of seeking to influence Canadian domestic affairs if it if its domestic diplomats openly interact with the Indian diaspora, the Indian diplomats have the obligation to point out to the diaspora and others the harmful impact on bilateral ties when Canadian politicians support separatism in India. These diplomatic activities cannot be construed as interference in Canada's internal affairs. Canadian politics. The harsh reality of the current Canadian political situation is that Mr. Trudeau is critically dependent on the New Democratic Party for his government survival and Jagmeet Singh. The NDP leader is a committed Khalistan sympathizer. He had asked Mr. Trudeau to intervene in the events in Punjab surrounding radical preacher Amritpal Singh's activities. Coming from a Canadian government ally, this was naturally unacceptable to India. Bilateral ties are passing through difficult times, but cooperation in many areas continues. One high catching one is the Cannabis Medicine Project. This is a vote at the Khalistani. There were few surprises in the singles events at the French Open. Let me go to the next page where anyone can be accused of sedition. JD's plan for resurrection. Speculation is at again ripe about a possible alliance with the BJP. Anushka Singh teaches at Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, Delhi, is the author of Sedition in Liberal Democracies. Where anyone can be accused of sedition. What is it? No linguistic change and a procedural reform can remedy the problem that Section 124A poses in a post-colonial democracy. High burden of diabetes and BP in Kerala and West Bengal. Prevalence of non-common communicable diseases as was much higher in urban areas. UN needs to be more democratic and representative, says Rajnath. Defense Minister says the moral legitimacy of the United Nations is undermined when India, the most populous nation, is not a permanent member of the UN Security Council. He stresses that the global organization must reflect current realities. 157 tender workers of NRC sacked in Assam. Twitter faced threats, says former CEO. Blinken says economic ties center of EU, India US strategic partnership. India US to diversify semiconductor supply chain. Sullivan. Two warships launched keel late for a third vessel at Chennai shipyard. Petitions move SC for ban on Uttarkashi Mahapanchayat. BJP borrowed a dictatorship toolkit from a British Congress. They tried to block the way. 750 farmers lost their lives far from paying compensation. There was not even a minute silence in parliament for them. Opposition leaders blame issues of appropriate agencies by union government. Blinded by political vendetta, the BJP is causing irreversible damage to our democracy. In a setback to Nitish, Jitin Ram Manji and Santosh Suman quits Bihar cabinet. Modi distributes 70,000 appointment letters for government posts at Rojgar Mela. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said on Tuesday that recently cash for jobs scam was unearthed in a state where rate cards were fixed for a very post. He was addressing a Rojgar Mela where he distributed 70,000 appointment letters to newly inducted recruits in various departments and organizations. Mr. Modi warned the youth about the hill of dynasty politics and nepotism in the recruitment process. Flag scam. Without taking names, Mr. Modi highlighted the land for jobs scam in which a former railway minister had acquired land in exchange for jobs. Said the case was being investigated by the Central Bureau of Investigation and pending in courts. On the one hand, we have political parties that present a rate card for jobs. On the other, we have the present government that is safeguarding for guarding the future of the youth. Now the country will decide whether the future of the youth will be governed by the rate card or by the safeguard. The Prime Minister said. Mr. Modi said while other political parties were trying to divide people in the name of language, his government had been making language a strong medium for employment. He said that employers and recruitment examinations in the mother tongue had been benefiting the youth. The recruits who received their appointment letters will be joining the departments of financial services, school education, revenue, atomic energy, iron education, audit and accounts, and the ministries of defense, health and family welfare, railway, home affairs, and others. No CERT update at on COVID data leak. Experts demand as transparency. Government rules out crapping airfield. Mandavia reviews cyclone preparedness. Two children among who killed after tanker explodes in Pune. Do yoga at office chair to refocus. Central test stop. And CSC sends notice to Zomato. Delhi police and YouTube over cash-based advertisement. Prabhanjan and Bora Varun top meet with perfect scores. Shaw asks states to prepare disaster management plan. Message from Pandarpur. 22 troops injured in Syria helicopter mishap. Belarus to get Russian tactical nuclear weapons in several days. Iran and Venezuela have common enemies. Russia's rise in Caracas. Palestinian youth killed, Israelis wounded in West Bank violence. Russian missile strikes 11 in Zelensky hometown. 6,000 civilians killed in Myanmar after 2021 coup. Man held after 3 killed in Nottingham. Trump arrives at Miami Federal Court. Influential South Asian peer bullied women journalist. UK House of Lords pro points. Disinflation to be slow and long and DOS. EV maker Joe Tech to raise 150 crore for expansion. US FDA approves a granules copy of hypertension drug. IRDAI note for SBI HAMF. India mortgage drafts new credit score. Saint Goban plans the captive thin glass unit for solar. Senior group is quite competitive. Venus gives it her best shot before going down to teenager nap. And Mbappe from are not extending contract with PSG behind 2024. PSG. Raonic eases past Kekmanovic on his return to the tour. MC Donald credits subcontinent journey for Australia's WTC glory. Abel Kir eager to ascend the throne of Egyptian crash. India gets off to a rousing start. Vihari to lead South in the Duleep Trophy. Sindhu and Pranay make the pre-quarter finals. Randhawa step down as AFI selection committee chairman. Nuggets delight the faithful with their maiden crown. All set for Nations League climax. Owners and selectors as half of the Indian team approaches the tricky age of 35. World Cup triumph and the Dronacharya Award will be the crowning glory for season's Coach Kumar. Lebanon, a nation in economic peril, turns to football for joy and relief. Lightning, blamed for Canada fires, will get worse in a warming world. In at least one climate scenario, lightning capable of causing fires is expected to become more common by the 2090s. Within India, lightning has been the deadliest natural disaster for some time, taking 90,632 lives from around 1972 to 2019 CC report. Colors on a soap bubble. Manjaman magic wand half Jogati Nritya. Looks at us as human beings. Guha's books wins Elizabeth Langford Prize. Not for profit hospitals to be set up in city. 24/7 eateries to help shift workers and drive revenue. It's time to DJ. Asia's largest pub, Horia, brings Santorini to town. Text and context. Wholesale passenger vehicle sale in May hit a record high in lakh. More people injured in the ongoing clashes in Manipur. The magnitude of earthquake recorded in Kashmir. The US to send a new military package to Ukraine. People killed in the Russia missile attack on Ukraine. Have to take high governance global. Is the question of regulating generative AI possible? Can the development and implementation of the AI be aligned with values such as freedom, democracy, and human rights? Will the Hiroshima AI process respond to the concerns of the country groups involved in developing international technical standards in AI? Cancel culture, speaking truth to power, reform of no more visitantism. Many people have come to believe that cancel culture is no longer about the holding people accountable and has instead become an island form of vicious mob intimidation. They believe that it first and foremost affects free speech. Know your English. Che Guevara, the Argentina Marxist revolutionary, was born on June 14, 1948. He was a major figure in the Cuban Revolution. Here is a quick and the leader. So this is the last page, guys. I'm going to end this video. Please subscribe the channel, like and comment. If you like the video, please share with your friends, so that I can bring very informative videos in the upcoming the future. So let's see you in the upcoming videos. Have a great day. Bye bye. Take care.